From Dennis' bed. He lazily handed me my underwear. I changed the code for the front door. Don't come here without a reason anymore. I was taken aback and instinctively asked, why? He smirked and said, she agreed to be my girlfriend yesterday. I'm afraid if she sees you, she'll be upset. I've been chasing her for a long time. Chapter 1. When I opened my eyes, my whole body ached terribly. Even though it had happened many times, I still wasn't used to Dennis' animal-like stamina. Turning around, I saw he was already awake, his beautiful latissimus dorsi muscles exposed to the sunlight, glowing with a faint honey color, his half-open eyes looking languid. Why are you up so early? His voice still carried a husky tone. The stiffness in my waist made me frown. I bent down to put on my stockings, only to find that the ones from yesterday were completely ruined by him and couldn't be worn anymore. Dennis turned over, held my underwear between his fingers, and handed it to me with a mischievous smile. Aren't you too old to be wearing this white lace? Isn't it outdated? Get something new. I took the underwear. Then I'll buy some new ones. What kind do you like? But Dennis interrupted me. No need. I'll change the front door code later. Don't come by without a reason anymore. I was stunned. We had maintained this kind of relationship for a year. At first, he called me over almost every few days. And later, except for when I had to work overtime, I practically lived at his place. Normally, I would tidy up his house, and if I finished work early, we would snuggle on the sofa, watching movies and eating popcorn, getting intimate before the movie even ended, like a real couple. Gradually, I got used to this lifestyle. Sometimes I couldn't help but think, maybe Dennis had gotten used to my presence too. If we could build a family together in the future, it would surely be very happy. But now he was telling me not to come anymore. I instinctively asked, is it because your family is coming? Or are you busy with work lately? I can. He got up and looked at me, his thin lips curving. No, she agreed to be my girlfriend. After a while, I finally realized who she referred to. Recently, I heard Dennis was pursuing a girl who had just graduated from college. Over the years, women came and went around him, none staying longer than 3 months. I had thought this time was just another whim of his, so I didn't pay much attention. I dryly asked, are you serious? Dennis smiled. Yes, I'm serious. She's different from the others. Frederica, you don't know. She's very pure. I don't want her to know about us. She'll be upset. I've been chasing her for a long time. Sunlight streamed through the gap in the curtains, so glaring, it made my head spin. Ah, okay. After half a second, I calmly said, then I'll move my things out today. No need to rush. Dennis casually grabbed a pair of gray sweatpants and put them on. Didn't you already terminate the lease on that house? Stay a few more days until you find a new place. I closed my eyes briefly, the pain exploding in them, making me feel a bit lost. No, I'll move out today. I didn't know why I was in such a hurry. Dennis was right. I had nowhere else to go, but I just wanted to leave immediately. I felt like Dennis had skinned me alive and left me to dry in the sun, and I was about to be consumed by shame. I didn't have many things at Dennis' place. Most of what I bought were pots and pans for cooking, the bed linens, and some miscellaneous decorations. The apartment was decorated in a minimalist style. He once helplessly said that ever since I came, there were more and more things in the house, but things that were uniquely mine could fit into just one box. As I was leaving, Dennis called out to me. He stood in the doorway, bare-chested, lighting a cigarette. Frederica, you're not getting any younger. It's time to find someone and settle down. He exhaled the smoke, a faint smile on his lips. From now on, let's just be friends. I understood what he meant and nodded. Okay. Chapter 2. Shanghai's winter is damp and cold. Not very low in temperature, but the kind of chill that seeps into your bones. It seems to be snowing, with cold, moist flakes landing on the tip of my nose. I looked up, and the sky that had been clear just moments ago suddenly turned cloudy, with countless tiny snowflakes falling with the wind. It had been several years since it last snowed in Shanghai. Ever since Dennis and I moved to this city, we hadn't seen snow. Suddenly, I thought of the snow back home, in the small coastal city in the north where I grew up. Once winter arrived, the humidity in the sea breeze would turn into large, fluffy snowflakes, falling all night long. By the next morning, the snow would reach your knees, covering everything in a blanket of white. It was so delightful, unlike the lingering southern snow that makes you feel melancholy. I placed my luggage aside and sat at the bus stop to call home. My mom answered quickly, her excitement tinged with a bit of caution. "Frida?" The cold air stung my nose as I rubbed my aching nose. "Mom, I want to eat your dumplings," my mom happily replied. "Should I make some dumplings for you? Let me check the tickets. It's almost New Year's, so tickets might be hard to get." I interrupted her. "No need, Mom. I'm coming home for New Year's this year." My mom was stunned, her voice filled with joy. "Really?" "Yes." I looked up. It seemed like snowflakes had gotten into my eyes. I blinked my slightly moist eyes and hoarsely said, "Mom, I'm planning to move back home." That afternoon, I handed in my resignation. My boss tried hard to persuade me to stay. "Is it about your salary? We can discuss it. The department manager is leaving next year. You're the most likely to get promoted. Leaving now would be such a pity." I smiled and shook my head. "Thank you, Ms. Wong, but I want to spend time with my parents. I never had big ambitions or dreams of becoming successful. Just wanted to live my life peacefully. I came to Shanghai because of Dennis. He wanted to develop his career here, so I followed him without hesitation. I thought if I stayed by his side long enough, he would eventually notice me. But it turns out, love is something you can't achieve through effort alone. On the way to the hotel, a bookstore by the street was playing a song. A woman was singing passionately. "Unconsciously loved to the point of not daring to take risks. Became your puppet for a year or two, only to see how pathetic I was. Loved to the point of compromise. But in the end, it's still unresolved, binding you to keep you from flying. History repeating itself makes me so tired." I quietly listened for a while. I first met Dennis when I was 17. Now I'm 28. I've compromised for Dennis all these years, and soon I'll be 30. This absurdity of 12 years should come to an end. Chapter 3. That night, I dreamt of Dennis from our youth. 17-year-old Dennis transferred to our small county town in his second year of high school, at a time when all the boys were still scruffy. He wore a black down jacket, his bangs falling across his forehead. His figure tall and lean, he was so good-looking, like someone from another world. That afternoon, almost every girl in the grade came over to the window to look at him. Within a few days, even the school beauty was sending him love letters, but he ignored everyone, always sleeping at the back of the classroom alone. He didn't seem interested in anything. He never brought anything to class or paid attention, and the teachers ignored him too. Occasionally, during exams, he would poke me on the back. "Hey, let me copy your answers." He seemed certain I wouldn't refuse him, and I didn't. Because of this, many boys couldn't stand him, saying he was pretentious. Every few days, a group of bullies would come looking for trouble. I almost saw Dennis fighting in the alley behind the school every day. One day, as I passed by, I saw him leaning alone in the alley, smoking, his face covered in injuries. I hesitated for a moment, stopped my bike, and pulled a band-aid from my pocket, handing it to him. "Your face is bleeding." He glanced at me coldly. "Get lost." I thought he was really annoying at the time. Who did he think he was? I didn't even like him. After that, no matter how he poked me for answers, I ignored him. A month later, fewer girls came to see Dennis, but rumors about him increased in the class. Someone said that the down jacket Dennis wore only once was a brand we'd never heard of, costing over $30,000. Someone else said Dennis was an illegitimate child, and his mother was a mistress. He and his mother were discovered by his father's wife. His father abandoned them, and his mother, unable to survive in Shanghai, brought him back to their hometown. All the looks directed at Dennis, admiring, disdainful, curious, became subtly different. That night, on my way home from school, I found Dennis lying in that alley. He looked like he had just been in a fierce fight. His knuckles bloody, his handsome face covered in wounds, and blood flowing from his forehead. I didn't want to care about him, But seeing him lying there with his eyes closed in the snow kept falling, almost half burying him, his face devoid of any color. I was afraid he might really be dead, so I cautiously walked over and nudged him. "Dennis, are you okay?" He didn't respond, and I started to panic, pulling out my phone. "I'm calling 911. Only then did Dennis open his eyes slightly, frowning. "Why is it you again?" I was a bit annoyed but couldn't care much at that moment. "You're seriously injured. Let me take you to the hospital. Mind your own business." He sneered and closed his eyes again. I ignored him and called 911. He was wearing only a thin black hoodie. I hesitated for a moment, then took off my red down jacket and draped it over him. Dennis was stunned. As I was leaving, he called out to me. I turned back. My red down jacket, which I had bought years ago, was an old style and looked a bit ridiculous draped over Dennis. His eyes were dark. "Don't you know my mother is a mistress?" I got on my bike, I heard. "So what? And you still helped me?" "Your mom is your mom. And you are you." I thought for a moment. "Besides, being a mistress isn't right. But it's not a crime worthy of death, is it?" Dennis didn't say anything. The snow fell on his trembling eyelashes as he stared at me. The sound of the ambulance soon filled the air. I waved. "Don't forget to return my down jacket." Chapter 4. After that, Dennis didn't come to school for a week. The boys who fought with him didn't fare much better. After Dennis' mother came to the school in a rage, those boys were all expelled. A week later, Dennis came back. He handed me a blue down jacket, turning his head away. "Your jacket was ruined, so I'm compensating you with a new one." I didn't think much of it and accepted it directly. It wasn't until much later that I learned the price of that down jacket. It could buy all the clothes I had ever owned since I was born. After that, things naturally progressed. Dennis' attitude toward me gradually improved, and I became his only friend in the small town. Before the college entrance exams, Dennis suddenly asked me, "Frederica, do you want to go abroad?" I was taken aback. He lowered his head, his ears turning red. "My mom plans to send me to the United States after the exams. Do you want to go with me?" I smiled bitterly. "Young master, my family doesn't have the money to send me abroad." "Then where are you planning to go?" I thought for a moment. "Beijing, I guess. I'm afraid I can't adapt to the southern climate. Besides, Beijing is close to home. If I want to go back, it's just a few hours by train." Dennis reached out and pulled my knit hat over my eyes, saying nothing more. Later, when the teacher asked everyone to write down their ideal university, I thought Dennis would write down an American one, but he wrote down the same university in Beijing as I did. I was surprised. "Dennis, aren't you planning to go to the United States?" He lay on the desk, mumbling. "I suddenly feel that America isn't that great. Beijing is good too." But 3 days before the college entrance exams, Dennis tore up that piece of paper. I asked him why, but he remained silent. That night, I found out that Dennis' father's wife and son had both died in the same car accident. His father asked his mother to bring him back. After losing one son, his father finally started to care about this remaining son. He promised that if Dennis stayed in Shanghai, he would give his mother a proper status and let Dennis inherit the family business. Dennis said he didn't care about his father's money, but his mother slapped him while crying and said, "Do you think all the hardships I've endured all these years are for nothing? For whom did I suffer? As long as your father marries me, I will no longer be a mistress, and no one will ever call you the son of a mistress again." The cicadas chirping in the summer was so loud it made my head buzz. Under the shade of the birch tree, Dennis looked down, avoiding my gaze. "I'm sorry, Frederica. I can't go to Beijing with you." His voice was hoarse from crying, his eyes red. I thought for a moment and stood on tiptoe to tap his head. "It's okay, then I'll go to Shanghai with you." Chapter 5. When I opened my eyes, it was already morning. I probably caught a cold from being out in the snow yesterday. My head hurt a bit. However, my friend's birthday is tonight, and I already bought a gift, so I have to go. I picked up my phone, and Dennis's message was the first one. He sent a picture of Snoopy pajamas. "You forgot your pajamas. Come get them tonight." Those were the couple pajamas I had secretly bought. one for him and one for me. Whenever he wore them, I would feel a fleeting, false sense of happiness, like he belonged to me for just a second. But looking back now, it's pitifully ridiculous. I replied with a few words. Throw them away. I don't need them. He didn't reply again. I turned over, covering my eyes with my arm. After arriving in Shanghai, a lot happened to Dennis. I found out that his mother wasn't actually a mistress. She had been with his father first, and she truly loved him when she gave birth to Dennis. But later, his father married a woman with a similar social standing, abandoning Dennis and his mother. After marrying Dennis's mother, his father still indulged in affairs, even wanting to have more sons. His mother had a tough time, constantly arguing with his father, and eventually, she became severely depressed and committed suicide by jumping off a building. After that, his father seemed to suddenly repent and never sought out other women again. But the rift between father and son was irreparable. Dennis never returned home after that. He started drinking heavily, racing cars, and smoking a lot. He became like other rich second-generation kids, partying every night. Once, he was indifferent to all girls, but now he was a seasoned player in the dating scene. The clean and pure Dennis seemed to have become an illusion, just a dream from my memories. Chapter 6. That night, at a friend's gathering, I met Dennis's new girlfriend for the first time. She was a fair-skinned girl wearing a camel coat. Her chestnut-colored long curls were wrapped in a cashmere scarf, and when she smiled, her eyes curved gently, giving her a serene look. Not stunningly beautiful, but very pure. Dennis was right. She was really different from his previous girlfriends. You must be Miss Frederica? She bounced over and held my hand, smiling. Denny often talks about you. He's such a liar, saying you're not good-looking, but you're so beautiful. Being a woman, I could easily see the hostility in her eyes. It seems that women's sixth sense is really accurate. She must have known that my relationship with Dennis wasn't ordinary. I was about to speak when Dennis interrupted me. He was holding her hand. This is Griselda, your sister-in-law. Others started to tease. This is the first girlfriend brother Dennis has brought out. It seems this time she's the real one. Sister-in-law is really amazing. Over the years, many girls have liked brother Dennis, but no one has ever been able to win him over. When are you getting married? I'll give a big red envelope. Griselda blushed and leaned against Dennis, smiling without saying anything. Dennis shielded her. All right. Gri is shy. Don't scare her. Friends laughed. Already protecting her? We're eating dog food tonight. We found seats. In the past, Dennis always sat next to me in these situations. This time, probably out of habit, he sat directly to my left. I was about to remind him when Griselda came over. She bit her lip, mustering up the courage. Sister Frederica, could you switch seats? After all, you're still single, and it's better to avoid sitting next to a man with a girlfriend, right? I frowned. I had sat down first, so why should I move? Dennis pushed me lightly. Don't upset your sister-in-law, Frederica. Just switch seats. I glanced at him and got up to move to the opposite side. The evening was lively, with countless bottles of wine opened. During the meal, Griselda nudged Dennis. Denny, I want some of that fish. Dennis instinctively said, aren't you allergic to fish? Griselda fell silent, and my chopsticks froze. After a while, Griselda, looking a bit annoyed, said, Denny, I'm not allergic to fish. Dennis paused. Really? Maybe I remembered wrong. Griselda stared at him. Who is allergic to fish? Dennis nonchalantly said, forgot. Drank too much. Griselda glanced at me, her expression darkening. She then picked up a piece of fish and placed it on my plate, her big eyes fixed on me. Sister Frederica, this fish is really good. You should try it. The friends around, not noticing the earlier tension, drunkenly said, Sister-in-law, you don't know. Frederica can't eat fish. She's allergic to it. Griselda coolly replied, oh, really? After several rounds of drinks, everyone was a bit drunk. One friend, face flushed, said, Brother Dennis, we all bet whether you would settle down before turning 30. Didn't expect you to find true love so quickly. Another friend, equally drunk, squinted and laughed foolishly. Yeah, we all thought you and Frederico were so close that you two would end up together. Griselda's face darkened to the point of dripping. Dennis suddenly smiled. Really? How could we be together? We're just best friends. Hilarious. He laughed as if it was the funniest joke. Friends joined in the laughter. Exactly. Now we know you two are just purely platonic friends. Ha ha ha. I laughed along. Exactly. How could I be with Dennis? It's too funny. Dennis came over and put his arm around my shoulders. He was probably already drunk. His face flushed, eyes watery, tilting his head. Frederica, you don't really like me, do you? At that moment, I wanted to see something in his eyes, but there was nothing. He looked at me as if we really were just the best friends he said we were. I smiled. Of course not. That's good. Dennis nodded, shaking my shoulders. We're the best of friends. Despite having drunk so much, I had never felt so clear-headed. I repeated, yes, best friends. Chapter 7. The next morning, I bought a one-way ticket home. Before boarding, I took one last look at my phone. Dennis had posted a new update on his social media. It was a picture of him and Griselda, with their fingers interlocked. An official announcement. Below were all the well wishes from friends. I watched for a while, then pulled out my SIM card and threw it in the trash. Going home turned out to be easier than I thought. My parents picked me up by car. As the new year approached, the streets were filled with red lanterns, and the shops were playing Andy Lau's Congratulations and Prosperity. It wasn't as bustling as Shanghai, but the smell of firecrackers lingering in the air made me feel suddenly at peace. My mom was extremely happy. I hadn't been home for the new year for 3 years because I stayed to spend it with Dennis. But after a moment of joy, she couldn't help but start nagging. You're almost 30 this year. How come there's still no news? The daughter of old Jean next door is a year younger than you, and she already has a child. I visited her the other day, and her chubby baby is so adorable. All the young ladies at my workplace are going on blind dates. By the way, a young man just moved in next door. Very handsome. I'll introduce you to him. My mom was talking while watching my reaction. Before, I was very resistant to blind dates. In the years I liked Dennis, my world revolved around him. After that drunken night that messed up our relationship, I thought I had a chance. My eyes were only on him. Every time my mom mentioned blind dates and marriage, I would get so annoyed that I wouldn't listen to a word. But this time, watching the red paper scraps from firecrackers outside the window, I suddenly felt very tired. I was exhausted. Settling down didn't seem so bad after all. I said, okay, don't be so resistant. I know you like that Lee guy, but what did you say? I lowered my lashes. I said okay. Introduce us. Chapter 8. That night after dinner, I habitually picked up my phone and received a WeChat call from Dennis. I had already changed to a new WeChat account, but I still logged into the old one occasionally for other friends. He seemed to have completely forgotten the recent events and spoke naturally. Why couldn't I reach you on the phone? Before I could respond, he continued, never mind. I've prepared everything for the new year. Is there anything else you want? I'll have my assistant get it. I suddenly remembered the year Dennis's mother passed away. That year, I went back home for the new year. On New Year's Eve, I called Dennis via video to wish him a happy new year. It took a long time for him to answer, and the screen was pitch black, except for a dim orange light slowly fading. Dennis's voice was hoarse. What's up? As the screen adjusted, I saw Dennis sitting alone on the balcony, surrounded by scattered bottles and cigarette butts. Outside, there were bright fireworks and festive lights, but all the cheer seemed unrelated to him. He sat there, watching others' happiness alone, smoking in the dark. At that moment, I felt a deep ache for him. My eyes stung, but I forced a smile. Just wanted to wish you a happy new year in advance. Got any red envelopes for me? He seemed to chuckle softly, and then I heard the notification of a money transfer. He transferred 100,000 to me. I was stunned, and after a long pause, Dennis suddenly said in a low voice, Frederica, come back soon. I'm very... His words were carried away by the wind. I couldn't hear the last part. I didn't know if he meant he was very lonely or he missed me a lot. I couldn't care about anything else. Hurriedly telling my parents that there was an urgent matter at work, and I bought the earliest flight back to Shanghai. At 3 a.m., Shanghai was still lively, with lights and bustling traffic. But Dennis's house was completely dark. I panted as I climbed the stairs and banged on the door. "Dennis, open up!" I thought Dennis had already fallen asleep, but he came to the door quickly, staring at me in surprise. He stood there, dumbfounded. "Why are you back?" I smiled. My eyes curved. "I came to spend New Year's with you." Dennis didn't say anything, just kept staring at me. Just when I was feeling awkward from his gaze, he suddenly hugged me tightly, so tightly, as if he wanted to merge me into his body. Since then, I had always spent New Year's with Dennis before going home. It seemed to have become an unspoken habit between us. I just didn't expect that this year, even with Griselda by his side, he would still ask me to spend New Year's together. I glanced out the window and said softly, "I went back home." Dennis was stunned. He seemed surprised by my words. And after a moment, he said, "Oh," trying to act natural. "Yeah, it's been years since you spent New Year's at home. It's good to visit." "Yeah." I held my phone. There was a silence on both ends of the call, and I vaguely heard Griselda's voice. "Denny, come here. How do you adjust this hot water?" "Coming," Dennis replied. "Okay. I'm hanging up," I said, pressing my lips together. "Okay." Dennis's voice was emotionless. I took the phone from my ear and pressed the end call button. The screen went dark. Chapter 9. I thought I wouldn't be able to sleep, but to my surprise, I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow. When I woke up, it was already past 2 a.m. I woke up thirsty. The northern winter is dry and cold, and I wasn't quite used to it yet. I went downstairs to get a glass of water, but just as I was about to go back upstairs, I suddenly heard a faint noise coming from the bathroom. Someone had broken into the house. My whole body tensed up, and my hair stood on end. My heart skipped a beat, and I held my breath. After a moment, I tentatively stepped barefoot on the ground. My phone was upstairs. I needed to go up and call the police, but just as I was about to reach the stairs next to the bathroom door suddenly opened. The fear made my scalp tingle, and without thinking, I grabbed an umbrella and started hitting the person who came out. That person grabbed the umbrella and, just as I was about to scream, pulled me over and covered my mouth. It took me a moment to realize that the intruder wasn't wearing any clothes. My bare back, exposed by my camisole, was pressed directly against his bare chest, which smelled faintly of verbena mixed with steam. Damn. Not only did this intruder break into our house, but he also wasn't wearing any clothes. Fearing he would suffocate me, I turned my head and bit his forearm, struggling desperately. However, the man was too strong, holding me tightly. When I realized I couldn't break free, I gave up. I was terrified and angry, afraid that since he realized I had seen him, he would kill me to silence me. Besides, my parents were upstairs, with tears in my eyes. Trembling, I pleaded, "Please don't kill me." In the cabinet next to the window, there's some of my dad's hidden money, about 2,000. If it's not enough, I can transfer you money via WeChat. But I don't have much, only a few thousand. Let me go, and we can pretend this never happened. I don't want to die. Please don't kill me. I heard a soft laugh near my ear, and suddenly, the living room light was turned on. Adjusting to the bright light, I saw a young man standing in front of me, naked from the waist up. Small water droplets ran down his beautiful, defined muscles to his waist, and then dripped onto the floor. He was very tall, a head taller than me, probably around 188 meters. Standing in front of him, I looked like a quail. I stared at him for a moment, my voice a mix of emotions. "Brother, with a face like that, you could make a few thousand a night in the city. Why would you stoop to robbing my house? We're very poor." The man's rosy lips curved into a smile, and I realized his voice was also very pleasant. "You must be Aunt Lee's daughter, right? I'm the tenant next door. The water heater broke, and Aunt Lee let me come here to shower. Sorry if I scared you." I was momentarily confused, then remembered my mom mentioning on the way that the house next door had been rented out. We bought 2 small houses by the sea. Although houses in the small town weren't worth much, the view was beautiful. The balcony faced directly to the sea. And in recent years, as tourism developed, some people started renting the house. Embarrassed, I wished I could find a hole to hide in. My face red as I said, "Sorry." The man waved his hand, "It's my fault." I was also startled. Ouch. His forearm had a round bite mark, already starting to bleed. I felt terribly guilty. "I'm really sorry. I'll get some iodine to disinfect it." Before coming back, I never imagined I would spend my first night home sitting on the sofa with a stranger, almost head to head. I pressed a cotton ball to his wound and found out his name was Raymond, a painter here for inspiration. "It looks pretty deep," I said, frowning at his wound. "Do you need a tetanus shot?" Raymond touched his chin and seriously said, "I think I need a rabies shot." It took me a moment to realize he was insulting me, and I couldn't help but glare at him, though not very convincingly, as I was in the wrong. Raymond smiled. "To be honest, your bite mark is quite round. It's aesthetically pleasing." My mom really liked Raymond and often invited him over for meals. She would subtly give me a knowing look. "Ray is such a good guy, always helping your dad and me with chores. Just look at him. So handsome. If you two get married, your children would be..." I helplessly said, "Mom, enough already." It's not that I didn't like Raymond, but I once saw the coat he wore. The coat he casually tossed over the back of our sofa was one I had seen Dennis wear before. It was from an Italian family that's been handcrafting custom coats for a century. Each coat costs at least 6 figures. Raymond was also a wealthy young master, from a different world than mine. However, Raymond was very good at winning over middle-aged and elderly people. He called my parents aunt and uncle so sweetly that ever since he came, he carried all the large water barrels for the house. Even my picky dad couldn't stop praising him. Even on New Year's Eve, my mom invited him over, saying he should join us for the New Year's dinner. I complained to my mom in a whisper, "Why did you invite him over?" My mom gave me a look. "Ray is all alone here. Isn't it pitiful? Do you have the heart to see him alone? Not even able to eat dumplings?" I had no choice but to watch as Raymond sat at the dining table, his eyes twinkling with laughter. "Auntie, your dumplings are really delicious." My mom was so happy that she kept giving him more dumplings. "Eat more if you like them." The conversation kept flowing, and my mom couldn't help but bring up an old topic. Glancing at me with a sigh, "Frederica, when will you bring a man home for me?" With Raymond there, I felt a bit embarrassed. "Mom, what are you talking about?" Raymond looked at me. "Frederica is so beautiful. I'm sure many people are chasing after her." "Auntie, don't worry." My mom pouted. "What is there to be sure about? She takes after me. Always pretty since she was a child. Let me show you her childhood photos." I couldn't take it anymore. "Mom." But Raymond smiled. "Sure. I'd love to see them." After dinner, my mom really brought out the photo album and started showing it to Raymond. This was when she was 100 days old. So chubby and cute. Look how fair Frederica was when she was little, with big eyes. The neighbors used to say she looked like a doll. This is her school performance. Look at those big red cheeks. It's hilarious. My mom was called away by my dad before she could finish, and I walked over, feeling a bit embarrassed. My mom is just like this. Don't mind her. If you don't want to see, just. Raymond looked up, his clear eyes full of amusement. "I don't mind. Auntie is right. You were really cute as a kid." I stood there, stunned. Chapter 11. After watching the Spring Festival Gala, the sound of firecrackers outside hadn't died down. The small town doesn't ban fireworks, and colorful fireworks flew everywhere. Although they looked cheap, they were no less brilliant when they bloomed in the sky. I stood on the balcony with a bottle of beer, unable to stop thinking about what my friend had said. She mentioned that Dennis was taking Griselda to the Cheval Blanc Rantilly in the Maldives. Her words were filled with frustration. "You've been by his side for so long. How come you haven't gotten him? If you were really with him, you'd save yourself decades of struggle." I smiled helplessly. How pathetic. He must be having a sweet time with his new girlfriend now. In the future, He won't need me to accompany him for New Year's anymore. Just like his life. He no longer needs me. When my friends found out about my complicated relationship with Dennis, they also scolded me for being cheap. I knew it was true. He never said he liked me, yet I stayed with him in this ambiguous relationship. I loved him too much. I couldn't bear to lose him, and even the self-deceptive closeness made me feel like I had him. But all that false joy was like the fireworks filling the sky, extinguishing in an instant. Mind if I join? My thoughts were interrupted. I turned around and saw Raymond with a cigarette in his mouth, tilting his head toward me. When I shook my head, he came over, cupping his hands around the lighter to light the cigarette, and took a deep drag. I made small talk. Are you okay spending New Year's here alone? What about your parents? Raymond exhaled the smoke and said calmly, they're far away. I felt like slapping myself and quickly apologized. Sorry. Raymond glanced at me, his eyes smiling. They're on a cruise to Antarctica. I shut my mouth, feeling like an idiot. Raymond couldn't help but laugh. The smoke choking him, he coughed a few times and grabbed my beer to take a sip. Awkwardly, I said, I drank from that. He handed me a new bottle of unopened beer, while he kept holding mine, casually saying, what do people usually do here in winter? I followed his lead and thought for a moment. There's not much to do here. It's too cold in winter. Well, we can go to the movies. Raymond nodded slightly, indicating he understood. Breaking the silence, I asked curiously, why did you come here? Inspiration. Raymond squinted at the distance. Don't you think winter here is particularly beautiful? That's true. So when are you leaving? Raymond didn't answer immediately. After a while, he stubbed out his cigarette on a can, a barely perceptible smile on his lips. I was planning to leave in the spring, but now I suddenly want to stay a bit longer. Why? Because my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I gestured to Raymond, and he tactfully left the balcony. Hello? There was a long silence on the other end before Dennis's voice came through. Frederica, did you change your number? Chapter 12. I wanted to cut off all contact with Dennis, so I only told 2 close friends about my new phone number. I stopped using my old WeChat account and planned to delete it after sorting out my contacts. But finding someone like Dennis is too easy. I thought our separation was a mutual understanding, but I didn't expect him to still reach out to me. I mumbled, yes. Dennis paused for a moment, then said in a deep voice, when are you coming back? I'll pick you up. Fireworks exploded in the distance, the fleeting brilliance leaving only ashes in the sky after a second. I took a deep breath of cold air, feeling my throat tighten. Dennis, I said softly, I'm not coming back. There was no response for a long time, and after a few seconds, Dennis's voice came through, devoid of emotion. Not coming back? What do you mean? I opened the beer, and white foam spilled out. I'm not going back to Shanghai. I held the can, feeling the coldness spread from my palm to my body. My heart ached dully, numbed slightly by the alcohol. I planned to stay in my hometown. Dennis, you were right. I'm not young anymore. It's time for me to settle down. There was only the sound of breathing on the phone. After a moment of silence, I said, I'm hanging up. If you don't have anything urgent, don't contact me anymore. As I was about to hang up, Dennis suddenly raised his voice. Frederica, what the hell do you mean? Explain yourself. Raymond suddenly opened the balcony door. More beer? Dennis was stunned, then demanded, Frederica, who are you with? I didn't want to talk to him any longer, so I hung up and blocked his number. Sorry, did I interrupt? Raymond came closer. I shook my head. No. Boyfriend? He suddenly seemed curious. No. I took a sip of beer, the cold liquid sliding down my throat, making me shiver. A warm coat was suddenly draped over my shoulders. I turned my head. Raymond said casually, don't catch a cold. That night, I forgot how long Raymond and I drank. My parents didn't interfere, and we just sat on the balcony, drinking and chatting. When I woke up, I was in my bedroom, groggy. I went downstairs to find Raymond already dressed, sitting at the dining table peeling garlic and chatting with my mom. I couldn't help but marvel at how some people look like a poster even while peeling garlic. No wonder he's a painter. Looking at his own face every day must raise his aesthetic standards. My mom frowned and scolded me. It's so late, and you're still in bed. It's New Year's Day, and Ray has already come to pay his respects. I glared at Raymond. We drank together last night, and today he's making me look bad. My mom noticed the bite mark on Raymond's forearm and exclaimed, "Oh my, what bit you? Such a big bite mark." I froze, and Raymond smiled faintly. "Oh, just a curly-haired little dog. No matter if it's curly-haired or straight-haired. You need to get vaccinated. Did you get your shots?" "Yes, I did, Auntie." I gritted my teeth. My mom continued to nag. "You young people shouldn't stay cooped up at home. Go out and explore. Our town may be small, but there are many beautiful places to see." Raymond's long eyelashes drooped sadly. "Auntie, I don't have many friends here and don't know where to go." My mom felt sorry for him and pointed at me. "She's been idle at home. Let her show you around." Raymond smiled contentedly. "Thank you, Auntie." I rolled my eyes. Raymond, this guy who looks like an unattainable flower, turned out to be a sneaky manipulator. Chapter 13. Early the next morning, I tidied up a bit and planned to take Raymond out after breakfast. My mom was still busy in the kitchen when I heard a knock on the door. It must be Raymond coming over for another meal. I went to open the door, annoyed. "Here for another free meal. Huh." My voice caught in my throat, and my eyes widened. Standing outside was Dennis. He wore a black coat, with snowflakes dusting his shoulders. He blinked, and the melting snow dampened his eyelashes. "You," I stammered. "What are you doing here?" "I came to pay my respects to your parents for the new year. You've taken my red envelopes for so many years. It's about time I got one, right?" My mom came out of the kitchen, holding a spatula, excitedly. "Ray, you're here? Auntie made your favorite meat buns." She looked at Dennis, stunned. Dennis nodded to my mom. "Happy New Year, Auntie. I'm Dennis, Frederica's friend." He placed the large bags he was carrying in the living room, politely saying, "Sorry for the sudden visit. I hope you don't mind, Uncle and Auntie." I glanced at the bags. Various expensive supplements and an Hermes bag. Even if my parents emptied their wallets, they couldn't give a red envelope worth that much. My mom awkwardly put down the spatula. "Oh, no, we don't mind." "Well," she racked her brain for a topic. "Denny, have you eaten? If not, join us." I thought Dennis would refuse. After all, someone like him wouldn't usually sit down to a meal in our home. But Dennis nodded, obediently saying, "I haven't eaten yet. Thank you, Auntie." I stared at him, thinking he must be out of his mind. My parents were polite but somewhat distant toward Dennis's arrival. They weren't fools. They knew who had caused my heartache all these years. It wasn't Dennis's fault that he didn't like me. But of course, my parents believed their daughter was wonderful in every way. And anyone who didn't see that was blind. They had always been cold toward him. After a while, the doorbell rang again. My mom went to open the door, and Raymond walked in with a watermelon. "Auntie, I saw some watermelons being sold and bought one." My mom's expression immediately changed, her face lighting up with a smile. "Oh, you didn't have to bring anything. Watermelons are expensive this time of year. You shouldn't waste your money." "It wasn't expensive, Auntie. I smelled the meat buns you made this morning." "Yes." My mom hurriedly fetched slippers for Raymond. "Your favorite. Eat as much as you want today. There's plenty." "Yes." Raymond already had his own pair of slippers at my house. I figured if I'd stayed away for another 6 months, my parents would have become completely his. The dining room became lively. Raymond chatted with my mom about various trivial matters, while Dennis stayed silent, barely eating anything. I couldn't understand how someone as rich and handsome as Raymond, an artist who should be aloof, could chat so easily with a middle-aged woman about everything from the drama of Mrs. Lee's daughter marrying a yellow-haired foreigner and having a baby out of wedlock, to old Mr. Wang's scandalous affair with the housekeeper and his wife wanting a divorce. What kind of conversation was this? Until Raymond asked me, "Frida, where are we going today?" Dennis suddenly put down his chopsticks and looked at Raymond coldly. "And who might you be?" This question was quite rude, but Raymond wasn't bothered. He smiled and said, "Oh, I live here." Dennis's face instantly darkened. That meal was torture for me. As soon as we finished, I dragged Dennis upstairs. "What are you doing here?" I frowned. "Shouldn't you be in the Maldives with Griselda?" Dennis turned his head slightly. I suddenly didn't want to go. He seemed to get angry as he asked me, "Frederica, why did you suddenly return home? Is it because you don't have enough money in Shanghai? No house, no car? I'll give you money. I have houses and cars. Come back, and I'll give them all to you." I looked at Dennis's face. His sharp, arrogant features should have made him seem harsh. Yet, with that face, even harshness became an air of lofty elegance. After all these years, he hadn't changed much. I pressed my lips and smiled bitterly. "Dennis, why would I come back?" He was stunned. "There's nothing left in Shanghai to keep me. What about me? Are you just going to leave me? We've been together for so many years." Dennis's brows furrowed in frustration. I interrupted him. "You already have Griselda, don't you?" "Dennis." I looked up at him seriously. "I can't spend my whole life revolving around you. I have my own life. I'm not young anymore. It's time for me to find someone and settle down." "Didn't you say that?" Dennis stared at me, stunned. Raymond called from outside, "Frida, are you ready? The car's here." Just as I was about to leave, Dennis grabbed me tightly, hurting my wrist. "Who is he?" His face was dark. "A tenant." "A tenant?" Dennis sneered. "Looks like your parents are ready to make him their son-in-law. Frederica, you're going back home because of him, aren't you?" Annoyed, I said, "Think whatever you want. Let go. I'm going out." Dennis pushed me against the wall, gripping my face harshly, his eyes full of anger as he blurted out, "What? Have you slept with him? Does he make you feel better than I do?" Slap. Dennis turned his head away. I put all my strength into that slap, splitting his lip, blood slowly oozing out. He wiped it with his thumb, then laughed instead of getting angry, grabbing my hand and pressing it to the other side of his face. "Feel better? If not, hit the other side too." I was so frustrated that tears welled up in my eyes, falling uncontrollably. "Dennis, what do you want from me?" My tears fell on his arm, seeming to burn him. Dennis suddenly came to his senses, awkwardly wiping my tears. "I'm a jerk. I said the wrong thing. Frederica, don't cry." In that instant, all the pent-up grievances broke free. I couldn't hold it in anymore and crouched down, sobbing with my face buried in my arms. Dennis clumsily tried to console me. "I'm sorry, Frederica. I was too angry just now. Hit me." He pulled me up and haphazardly wiped my face. "Don't cry. Hit me." I cried even louder, shaking with anger, pointing to the door. "Get out! Dennis, you disgust me. Get out!" This was the first time I hit Dennis and the first time I cursed at him. Dennis stood there, dazed, with a confused look on his face. Just then, his phone rang. He answered it, and Griselda's voice came through. "Denny, where did you go? My stomach suddenly hurts. I'm at the hospital. Can you come and stay with me?" Dennis didn't say anything and hung up. After a long time, he suddenly said in a low voice, "Frederica, if you ask me to stay, I won't leave." I wiped my tears and calmly said, "Go, Dennis. Don't come looking for me again." Dennis gave me one last look, his eyes dark. "Fine," he said. "Frederica, don't regret this." Then he slammed the door and left. Chapter 14. I couldn't understand why Dennis acted the way he did. After thinking about it, I figured it was probably because he was used to having me around, and now that I was suddenly gone, he felt a bit uncomfortable. Maybe in his eyes, even if he didn't like me, I was supposed to always be there, clinging to him. But given Dennis's proud nature, after being scolded by me like that, he definitely wouldn't come back. I wiped away my tears, feeling complicated inside, yet also empty, as if there was nothing left. That day, I couldn't go out with Raymond. When I, with red eyes, went to explain to him, he didn't say anything. He just reached out and patted my head. But that night, he came again. My parents had gone out to visit relatives. When I opened the door, Raymond's long fingers were holding a pair of white lace panties. They were mine. My face turned beet red, and I quickly snatched the panties from him, lowering my voice. "Where did you get these?" Raymond looked innocent. "They blew over from your balcony. I was in the yard gathering inspiration, and they landed on my head." My face felt like it was on fire, and I stammered, not knowing what to say. Raymond just kept smiling, looking at the panties in my hand. That smile was so infuriating that I couldn't even bring myself to thank him. "What are you laughing at?" I glared at him fiercely. "Are you going to say it's childish to wear white lace at my age?" Raymond smiled warmly. "Why would I? It's very cute." I lowered my head, suddenly feeling my heart skip a beat. "Get a good rest tonight." Raymond handed me a jar. "I'll pick you up tomorrow." He closed the door and left. I looked down. It was a bottle of warm milk. In the cold winter, the warmth spread through my palm. I reached up and touched my heart. It felt like it was swelling. Chapter 15. Raymond and I didn't end up seeing the movie. The movie was at 6 p.m., but because the snow was too heavy, we couldn't get a cab, and he hadn't brought his car. I told him to watch the last bus schedule. It turned out this young master had probably never taken a bus before. After asking about the last bus at around 6 p.m., he confidently took me out. When we got to the bus stop, the bus had already left, and despite chasing it, we couldn't get it to stop. I was furious. The 80 movie tickets were wasted just like that, with no other options, and my makeup already done. We decided to take a walk by the sea. The winter beach was beautiful. The whole world seemed to have a light blue filter added, making everything look cold. The streets were covered in white, with blue signposts sticking out of the snow. Occasionally, we saw couples wrapped up tightly, laughing and talking together. The headlights of the cars on the narrow streets turned the falling snowflakes into a warm yellow. Raymond and I walked on the beach, chatting intermittently. These days, I had looked him up and found out that Raymond was actually a famous genius painter in the industry, with each painting worth at least 6 figures. One of his paintings had even sold for over $3 million at an auction in Hong Kong. "What have you been painting recently? I haven't seen you paint." Raymond looked down at me. "Not telling you." "Fine. Don't tell me." "Do you think I care? You're so pretentious." I rolled my eyes. The cold, damp sea breeze drilled into my bones. After spending so many years in the South, I wasn't used to such cold weather anymore. I rubbed my hands together and breathed into them. Raymond said teasingly, "I told you to dress warmer, but you only cared about looking good. Cold now, aren't you?" I glared at him. A normal man would take off his coat for a woman. "Are you even a man?" I usually didn't talk like this. My friends always said I had a good temper, but for some reason, when I was with Raymond, I couldn't help but snap at him. Raymond raised an eyebrow. "But I'm only wearing one down jacket. If I give it to you, I'll freeze." This annoying man. I used to think he was considerate, but now I see I was wrong. Annoyed, I stormed ahead. If he wouldn't give me his coat, fine, I'd just warm up by walking. Raymond suddenly pulled me back. His low laughter echoed above my head. "I can't give you my coat, but I can share it with you." With that, he unzipped his jacket and pulled me into his arms, wrapping it around me. The faint scent of verbena surrounded me. I pressed against his chest, suddenly aware of the sound of a pounding heartbeat. Like a drum, I couldn't tell if it was mine or his. His body was warm, dispelling the cold. We stood quietly on the beach, neither of us speaking. At some point, the snow had stopped. The clouds in the night sky had parted, revealing a few scattered stars. One of them was particularly bright. Raymond looked up for a moment. "Frederica, have you seen The Princess and the Frog?" My mind went blank. "What?" "There's a firefly in it that's always in love with a star." He named the star Evangeline. I nodded dumbly. "Yeah, and then?" The waves on the shore had frozen, creating a smooth, white surface. The incoming waves piled snow on top of it. "Frederica." Raymond suddenly called my name. I looked up to find Raymond gazing deeply at me. His eyes were filled with a gentle glow, and he slowly leaned down. I didn't move. A cool kiss landed on my lips. Chapter 16. sitting on the plane back to Shanghai. I couldn't help but give a wry smile at the window. I had said I wouldn't come back. Yet here I was again, but a friend's wedding, a major life event, was something I couldn't miss no matter what. Raymond insisted on coming with me, but after that kiss, my mind was a mess, so I refused him. He seemed very unhappy, staring straight at me at the airport as I left. Frederica, if you don't come back, I'll go to Shanghai to find you. I nodded, yes, I'll be back tomorrow. I had just put the red envelope in my suitcase and sat down in the banquet hall when I felt a gaze on me. Dennis naturally pulled out the chair next to me and sat down. Griselda saw me, frowned slightly, but still smiled and said, Frederica, I heard you went back to your hometown. Why are you back? I came back for the wedding and then I'll go back. Griselda sighed with relief, her smile widening. Is that so? What a pity. You must come to our wedding with Denny then. I couldn't be bothered to spar with her and responded perfunctorily, yes, if I have time. Dennis didn't miss an opportunity to show affection, giving Griselda food and blocking drinks for her. They were so clingy and affectionate. In the past, this would have made me feel uncomfortable, but now my mind was occupied with Raymond's kiss. What did he mean by it? Does he like me? What should I do? Do I like him? Dennis's public display of affection grew more intense. Griselda initially smiled, but when Dennis gave her a piece of beef, her expression suddenly changed. She said stiffly, Denny, I'm allergic to beef. Did you forget? Dennis paused, about to speak when the commotion erupted next to us. At the adjacent family table, the groom's family was unhappy with the bride's family for buying a house before the wedding. Fueled by alcohol, they shouted, your family is scheming against us. The bride's family wasn't pleased either. We agreed to pay the down payment together. But you secretly bought the house and asked us to pay for the renovations. What kind of logic is that? The groom's uncle, drunk, pointed and cursed. So what if you paid for the renovations? Does your daughter have the nerve to just move in? Is your family selling your daughter? The bride's family stood up. What do you mean selling our daughter? You secretly changed the terms we agreed on. Everyone knows a house appreciates while renovations depreciate. Do you think your family is the only smart one? And everyone else is a fool? Both families exchanged insults, refusing to back down despite the bride and groom's attempts to mediate. Someone eventually threw a punch, and chaos erupted with dishes flying everywhere. In the chaos, several bottles were thrown our way. Dennis jumped up and stood in front of me. One bottle hit Griselda on the head with a crisp sound, and blood started to seep from her scalp. Dennis didn't notice. He brushed aside a bottle aimed at me and asked anxiously, Frederica, are you okay? Griselda, her hair matted with blood, stood there, staring blankly as Dennis shielded me. Only then did Dennis notice her injury. He opened his mouth to say something, then fell silent. Griselda's eyes reddened, sensing something bad. I stood up and grabbed my bag, ready to leave. I could understand Griselda's hostility towards me, but I had already given up on Dennis. I really didn't want to come between them anymore. I'm leaving, I said hastily. Thanks for earlier. Wait! Dennis instinctively wanted to follow me. Griselda, with a tearful voice, said from behind, Dennis, if you dare to chase after her, we're breaking up. Dennis's steps slowly came to a halt. After a moment, he turned to look at Griselda, not with sadness, but with a sense of relief. Okay, he said. Griselda's eyes widened. After a long moment, she stared at Dennis, tears streaming down her face. Dennis. She lifted her chin slightly, her eyes filled with heartbreak and a mix of hatred. You're too much. Then she turned and ran out, not looking back. In a state of utter distress. Chapter 17. Walking out of the hotel, I lowered my head and asked, why? Dennis didn't say anything. After a long while, he suddenly stopped, let out a self-deprecating laugh, and said, because I fucking like you, all right? Frederica, I get it now. I finally fucking get it. I'm such an idiot. He closed his eyes, his posture no longer as straight, as if a tightly wound string had finally snapped, or a heavy stone pressing on him had finally been lifted. We'll be together. I know you like me. I'll give you everything you want from me. I won't be with anyone else. Come back, Frederica. I looked at him for a moment, unable to stop myself from thinking how happy I would have been if he had said this a few months ago. I had loved him for so many years. Over the past 10 years, I had been tired, cried, and felt hurt, but I never once gave up on my love for him. I finally got what I had longed for. Dennis responded to my feelings, but all I felt was a sense of irony, an indescribable fatigue rising within me. I shook my head. No. Dennis grabbed my shoulders, his brows furrowed, a hint of agitation in his eyes. Why? Frederica, can you honestly say you don't like me? I looked up into his eyes. This person I had loved for 10 years had grown from a boy into a man. His appearance hadn't changed much, yet I felt that everything had changed. For the first time, I clearly understood that we couldn't go back to the way things were. No one waits forever. I said calmly, Dennis, loving you is too exhausting. I'm tired and I don't want to love you anymore. Sparse raindrops fell on me. It started to rain. The rain gradually grew heavier, the traffic moving endlessly through the rain, the neon lights casting fantastical colors that flowed like a dream. Dennis's eyes were fixed on me, raindrops falling into his eyes, extinguishing that spark. His lips slowly parted, and in a trembling voice, he said, Frederica, don't do this. Give me one more chance. I'm begging you. Dennis was a very proud person. In all the years I'd been by his side, I had never seen him so humble. He said he was begging me, but who was there for me to beg when I was suffering so much from loving him all those years? I suddenly understood that love doesn't fade gradually. It disappears in an instant. That fire that once almost consumed me, once extinguished, could never be rekindled. I pulled Dennis's hand away, softly saying, It's too late. Dennis's eyes and brows were wet, his clothes soaked through, and his hair clung to his face. The rain seemed to carry immense weight, layer upon layer, breaking all his pride. He blinked. A drop fell to the ground with a soft plop. I couldn't tell if it was rain or tears. Chapter 18. Half a year after returning to my hometown, my relationship with Raymond hadn't made much progress. We still got along very well, but every time the topic of defining our relationship came up, I felt like I wasn't ready. My last relationship had been too painful. I was a bit scared. One day, I went to see Raymond and found him packing his things. A suitcase stood to one side, and he was folding clothes. I didn't know how to feel, but my heart tightened, and I could hardly breathe. Are you leaving? I asked, stunned. Yeah. Raymond didn't look up. Why so suddenly? When's your flight? At 2 p.m. I'll be leaving soon. I stood there, feeling stiff, and said, Oh, I see. The room fell silent. I should say something, but nothing came out. After a long while, I forced a smile and said, Well, that's fine. The snow here is beautiful, but there's not much to see in summer. Raymond glanced up at me. Don't you have anything else to say? My forced smile must have looked terrible. Have a safe trip. What else? I couldn't hold back the sourness in my nose and looked down to hide it. Nothing else. Raymond smirked. Oh, are you going to cry? My eyes were welling up, and he bent down to look up at me, teasingly. Crying? Really crying? This guy is crazy. Now I really couldn't cry. I angrily pushed him. Are you insane? Raymond laughed, his eyes dancing with mischief. I know you'll miss me. I'll be back the day after tomorrow morning. Don't forget to pick me up. I was shocked. Huh? You're coming back? Of course. He rolled his eyes at me, wiping a tear from my eye with one hand. I paid a year's rent. I blurted out. What about after the year? Raymond rubbed his chin thoughtfully. After a year, I guess our mom won't charge her son-in-law rent. My face turned red, and I reached out to hit him. Who's your son-in-law? Raymond grabbed my wrist and pulled me into his arms. The playful smile faded from his face as he gently lifted my chin. In a soft kiss, he said, Wait for me to come back. Chapter 19. The next time I heard about Dennis was 6 months later, through a friend. Did you know that Dennis is severely depressed? A few days ago, He swallowed a bottle of sleeping pills with alcohol. Luckily, his assistant found him in time and got him to the hospital for a stomach pump and saved him. She cautiously added, I heard that when he was taken to the hospital, he hadn't lost consciousness and kept calling your name. I fell silent. Do you want to go see him? After hesitating for a while, I still refused. Our lives should have diverged long ago. Whether he's doing well or not, I don't want any further connection with him. But I didn't expect Dennis to come looking for me. The snow in the north started early. It was only December, and the sky was already filled with swirling snowflakes. The small town was quiet, and the snow fell silently. Raymond and I were returning home from the supermarket when we saw a dark figure standing by the streetlight downstairs, covered in a thick layer of snow. Dennis stood there quietly, his eyes filled with desolation. Frederica. His voice trembled slightly in the snow. I nudged Raymond. You go up first. I'll come up in a bit. Raymond frowned but reluctantly said, 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. After he left, Dennis walked up to me. We hadn't seen each other in almost a year. He looked thinner, and the sharpness in his eyes had dulled. Do you need something? I asked him. He just stared at me, his eyes gradually reddening. In a hoarse voice, he said, Frederica, I can't let go. What should I do? How did you let go? Can you teach me, please? I calmly replied, when it hurts enough, you let go. Dennis looked dazed, bending slightly as if my words had stabbed him deeply. We just missed our chance, he said, his eyes turning red. If I had realized earlier, maybe we could've. No. I shook my head with a bitter smile. Dennis, it was never about missing our chance. As long as I didn't leave, you would never think of me. We were destined to have no outcome. Dennis's lips moved. He seemed to want to say something but couldn't. Tears, or perhaps melted snow, fell from his eyes. I took his hand and sighed when I saw the fresh scars on his wrist. Dennis, I used to think that if I couldn't have the person I loved, it would be the end of the world. But now I understand that in this world, no one is indispensable. You'll let go eventually. I checked my watch. 5 minutes were almost up. Raymond, being the petty guy he is, would make sarcastic comments if I was late. I turned and waved. Go on, Dennis. I had walked quite far when a heart-wrenching scream came from behind. Frederica, I can't let go. I can't let go for the rest of my life. I kept walking. Hey Frederica, I can't let go. As I was taking off my shoes, Raymond leaned against the wall, mimicking Dennis's voice, casting me sideways glances. I pretended nothing happened. My mom wants us to go have dumplings later. Are you coming? He immediately forgot about the previous scene. Yes. Chapter 20. The news about the genius painter Raymond holding an art exhibition went viral. My friend was over the moon with excitement and called me. Please, please. You know Raymond, right? Help me get a ticket. I'm a huge fan. I went to Raymond, but he only gave me 1 ticket. No extras. Just for you. So arrogant. I gritted my teeth. But when the day of the exhibition came, I honestly went. I really wanted to see what Raymond had painted in this small town. The exhibition was titled Evangeline. What was a bit strange was that there was no one at the entrance. The gallery was dark, and I felt a bit uneasy. Could I have gotten the time wrong? The next second, all the lights came on simultaneously. I stood there in a daze. In the gallery, big and small, scattered at different heights, were all portraits of me, drinking beer on the balcony, walking on the beach in a coat, blushing and smiling shyly. I never knew Raymond had painted so many portraits of me. I also didn't know how he remembered them all, the expressions vividly lifelike, and the gentle brushstrokes overflowing with love. Every scene since we met had been captured by his brush. I walked down the corridor, and at the end, there was a final oil painting, depicting 2 stars nestled together in a serene night sky, emitting a soft glow. My eyes couldn't help but fill with tears as I looked at the person who emerged from behind the painting. Raymond smiled. Frederica, will you be my Evangeline? My eyes reddened, but I couldn't help but smile. I started to run and jumped into his arms. Yes. Dennis's perspective, epilogue. A friend once asked me what I liked about Griselda. I said she was pure, quiet, and seemed safe. Yet, another person's image surfaced in my mind. I brushed it away. Frederica was just a friend, and could only be a friend. I never thought Frederica would leave. She had been with me for 12 years. How many 12 years does a person get in life? From her birth until now, almost half her life had been spent with me. We couldn't be without each other. I didn't think she would really go. She said she was going back to her hometown and wouldn't return. I found it absurd. If she didn't come back, what would I do? After hanging up, I went out to the balcony to smoke. Fine, let her go. She was just a friend. I had plenty of friends, but I couldn't stop the panic rising inside me, and I couldn't light my cigarette for a long time. I felt like I had to go find her. I had to ask her why she wasn't coming back. I was here. Where could she possibly go? But the moment I saw her, I suddenly understood she was serious this time. I finally panicked, seeing another man by her side. I was furious. I had never been so angry, and I lashed out, earning a slap from her. She told me to get lost, and I did. When I got back, I rummaged through my wardrobe and found the Snoopy pajamas. I knew she had bought the matching set, and I didn't say anything at the time. I even wore them a few times. Every time she saw me wearing them, she would be overjoyed, secretly smiling behind my back and taking pictures. When she left, she told me to throw the pajamas away. I don't know why I didn't. Instead, I put them away in my wardrobe. I took out the pajamas and stared at them blankly. I slowly realized that I had liked Frederica for a long time. In fact, I was the one more dependent on her. But subconsciously, I felt that I shouldn't like her. I still remember what my mother told me before she died. Don't love someone too much, because love can kill. Love killed her. She spent her entire life on a man, and in the end, she lost her life for it. I understand now that love can fade. Love is unreliable. No matter how much two people love each other, in the end, they might grow tired of each other or even become enemies. Lovers leave, but if I were with Frederica, she might get bored or fall for someone else. But friends don't. Friends can stay together for a lifetime. I knew Frederica liked me, but I pretended not to know anything and continued to deceive myself with friendship. It's only now that I realize she could also get tired and hurt. She could also leave. I tried to win her back. I told her I had figured it out. I put aside my pride and begged her. Frederica loved me so much. How could she bear to see me unhappy? But she just smiled at me calmly. It's too late, she said. I knew then that I had no chance. The love in Frederica's eyes had vanished. But it's nothing, right? If she could move on, so could I. For a year, I didn't go looking for her. I didn't check any news about her. I pretended she didn't exist in my world. I ate alone. I slept alone. I lived alone. I never thought about her again. I thought I was fine, that I had moved on, until one day, I suddenly started having insomnia. I couldn't sleep anymore. I started taking sleeping pills. Later, I began saving them up, and after accumulating a bottle, I washed them down with alcohol. I didn't even feel particularly distressed. I just felt that nothing mattered anymore. While I was unconscious, I dreamed of Frederica. Since she left, I hadn't dreamed of her until now. In the dream, it was snowing and very cold. She still looked like she did at 17, draping a red down jacket over me, scolding, "Dennis, how can you still not know how to take care of yourself at this age?" My tears fell instantly, and I gripped her hand tightly. But Frederica slowly pulled her hand away. She began to grow up again, turning into an adult. Her smile looked a bit tired as she said to me, "Dennis, I'm leaving. You need to take good care of yourself from now on." I cried, begging her not to go, but she just slowly pried my hand away and turned to leave. A suffocating pain filled my chest, as if she had taken my heart away with her. I finally understood that I had never moved on. I never will.